Hainanese chicken rice is one of those dishes that truly celebrates the chicken. By the looks of it, it looks pretty boring and it doesn't look that flavorful. But my friends, this is one of the most chickeny chicken dishes you will ever have. Served with 2 fresh dipping sauces with flavors you can mix and match, it's a dish that you'll never get sick of. So if you're looking for something different, this dish is for you. Traditionally, the dish is made by poaching whole chickens, but for this version, I wanted to put my own twist on it. I'm going to break down the chicken into pieces to cook more evenly and to create a smoky chicken stock as a poaching liquid. The main focus will be to maximize the chicken flavor in this entire dish, as well as to preserve the chicken skin, especially over the breast. As we know, the chicken skin is the best part. To start, I'm going to remove the wings while trying my best not to disrupt the skin. Move the wings back and forth until you find the joint where it meets the carcass. Make a small incision until you can see the ball joint. Use the tip of your knife to work around the joint, and pull the chicken away from the rest of the chicken to remove the wing cleanly. Once removed, flip over to the other side. Move the wing back and forth again to find the joint. Use the tip of the knife to work around it, and there you go, another cleanly removed wing. These wings will be used later for our stock. Next, flip over the chicken and work on the legs. To split the chicken, pull the legs out to the side and stretch out the skin. When determining where to split the skin, cut it closer towards the leg and not the breast. This will allow for the excess skin to have full coverage over the breast. As the chicken cooks, the skin is going to shrink, and I want as much skin coverage on the breast than the leg since it's much leaner. Once the skin is released from both sides, pull and separate the breast and the breastbone from the rest of the carcass. Use the weight of the chicken to create tension while you use your knife to cut through the softer bones. And there you have it. We separated the breast while having extra skin that we can tuck underneath for now to show that we have complete coverage of skin. And I'm going to leave this piece whole because I think it's going to cook a little more evenly this way. To remove the legs cleanly, we're going to find a clear path for our knife to follow. Lift up the thigh while holding down the rest of the chicken with your other hand. Continue to lift it up until you see the bone at the joint pop out. Your knife will go in between that space that we just created. Make a clean cut at the exact spot and cut all the way down. You should be able to remove the thigh with minimal effort. Again, on the other side, pop out the bone from the joint and trace your knife in between to remove it cleanly. For our final step, flip it over again so it's skin side up and just pull the layer of fat off the bone. The bones will be used to make a smoky stock, and the extra skin will be used to make smolts, aka chicken fat. And there you have it. We have our 2 skin on legs, 2 wings for our stock, our skin on chicken breast, backbones, and the pieces of fat that we peeled off the backbone. But we still don't have quite enough meat and bones to make the stock, so I grabbed an extra pack of drumsticks. I'm going to remove the skin, and the rest of the drum will be used to fortify our stock. For now, I'm going to put the legs and breasts in the fridge so the skin can tighten up a little bit over the meat. While they sit in the fridge, let's get started on our smoky stock. To start the fire, we're using Korean newspaper for that flavor boost, Fogo fire starters, and Fogo charcoal. I want smoke and also a little bit of color on the bones. The temperature will be between 250 and 275 degrees for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The chicken legs and breasts that are sitting in the fridge will not be going in the smoker. We're relying on the stock to do the heavy lifting in terms of incorporating the barbecue flavor for this dish. So it's really important that we get a really good smoky flavor on these pieces. After the smoke, this is what it should look like. It smells amazing, and the deep rich color is going to give our stock so much flavor. This is honestly the only way I ever make chicken stock now. I feel like the extra smoke flavor just brings a totally different dimension to the stock. It's like adding a seasoning to your stock that you can't buy in a grocery store. I also forgot to film myself putting the bones in a pot and covering it with water. I'm going to add a chunk of ginger, a few cloves of garlic, and some scallion. I just think that it gives the chicken stock a really clean and refreshing flavor, and it's a little bit different than adding your typical carrots, celery, onion, garlic, and things of that nature. Let this simmer on the stove for a few hours or overnight if you have a really large batch. After simmering, this is what it looks like. The color isn't just a clear chicken stock. It's quite thick, and all the chicken is super tender and falling off the bone. When I'm not sure if I've extracted all the flavor out of the bones and meat, I'll taste some of the chicken. If the chicken still has some flavor, I'll let it go for a little bit longer. But if you taste it and it's absolutely flavorless and kind of has a gross, gritty, overcooked texture, then you know you did it right. Drain it and skim off any fat on top until we have this really beautiful stock. Whenever I make stock, I can never resist tasting at this point. Just warm it up, add in a little bit of salt, and you have a perfect chicken soup. Oh my god, that's good. Store the rest of your stock in containers. Keep some in the fridge if you plan on using it within the next few days. If not, you can keep in your freezer and have it ready for when you need a flavorful liquid to add to a dish, or if you just want a satisfying soup to drink to soothe the soul. Next, we're going to be working on our 2 sauces that are going to pair with our dish. The first one is going to be our ginger scallion sauce. Take all the chicken fat from the backbones and the drumsticks, cut them into smaller pieces, and cook it over a low to medium-low heat. As it cooks, separate the pieces so they don't stick together. I move them into a saucepan a little bit later. Since it has less surface area on the bottom of the pan, it helps the fat pieces render a little bit faster, as it's able to cook in its own fat much more than in the pan I originally started with. After some time, they have this really nice golden brown color. Be careful at this point not to burn it, or you'll end up with a bitter taste. Cook them just enough until they get crispy and the center of the pieces aren't soggy. Take a knob of ginger, peel the skin with a spoon, and mince it really well. I really like ginger, but I don't like biting down on a big chunk. It's a bit fibrous, and you don't want that fibrous texture while trying to eat the sauce. I prefer to cut them up, blitz them in a food processor to get a better texture, and it'll help the ginger melt into the background of the sauce. Next, for the scallions, I like using both the tops and the bottoms. The greens have a more fresh and vibrant flavor, while the white bottoms have a more assertive, punchier flavor that I think is needed since we're going to be adding fat to the sauce. I also like to split it down the middle, so the size of the green and the white pieces are a little bit more uniform. Into a bowl, add 40 grams of scallions, and here I have 15 grams of ginger. 15 grams of ginger is quite a lot. I personally like it, but my parents said it was a little bit too much. So to be safe, I would start with 7 to 10 grams of ginger and add more next time if you want. Once mixed, pour 25 to 30 grams of hot oil over the ingredients. This is a mixture of chicken fat with a little bit of canola oil. You should hear it sizzle as soon as the oil hits the scallion ginger. Pour as much oil as you think you need to cover it. Similar to how I like to make chimichurri, I don't like having all my ingredients sink to the bottom while having an inch or 2 of oil resting on top. I wanted it to be a little bit thicker and chunkier so you can scoop out some of the ingredients with some of the oil. Once it's the right consistency, season with salt to taste. This sauce almost reminds me of an aromatic and mild variation of chili oil. But instead of all the chili, you have scallion ginger instead. This sauce you can almost put on anything, and it's super easy to make and extremely delicious. To balance out that, our second sauce is going to be a chili sauce. Start with 70 grams of long red chilies that I'm going to pulse in a food processor. I found these in an Asian grocery store. If you can't find these, a red jalapeno might be a good substitute. Then to that, we'll add 10 grams of minced garlic and 7 grams of the ginger that we used earlier. Now to bring the sauce together, add 35 grams of the smoked chicken stock and 4 grams of white vinegar to bring some balance into the sauce. Give it a good mix, add salt to taste, and there you have it. This sauce kind of reminds me of a mix of sambal and also just kind of like a thicker, chunkier sriracha. I would also recommend making these sauces at least a few hours ahead of time. The flavors really start to develop as they sit. Now that we got our 2 sauces, let's go check on our chicken. The chicken has been sitting in the fridge overnight, and you can see how tight the skin has gotten. It has this nice shape and sheen around the chicken breast and legs. My thought was that this overnight uncovered rest would help the skin stick to the chicken better during the cooking process. We're going to season the chicken with just salt on all sides, and we're going to poach it in our smoked chicken stock. We're looking to keep the temperature between 160 to 180 degrees. I'm going to place the legs in first at the bottom and the breast on top in hopes that the legs will cook a little bit faster because I want to cook them a little bit further. I'm looking to get the legs to reach an internal temperature of 180 degrees. I feel like that's the best temperature for a chicken leg to get it to be nice and tender. While the breast, we're going to pull at 165 because if we push it further than that, we run the risk of it getting a little bit too mushy or gritty and especially dry. While the chicken poaches, let's work on the rice. For this dish, I'm going to be using basmati rice. Just like I would normally do for rice I cook at home, I'm going to rinse it a few times to wash off the excess starch. A lot of recipes don't rinse, but they toast the rice in a pan with oil and the aromatics before putting it into the rice cooker. I've done it before, but I personally didn't find that much of a difference when doing so, but I'll still take some of that chicken fat And you guessed it, we're going to be frying up some ginger, scallion, and garlic. Once that's nice and toasty, that'll go into the rice cooker with the washed rice. And to bring this rice to the next level, instead of cooking it in water, we'll be cooking this rice in that chicken stock. The rice might be the best part of this dish. All those flavors we've been working so hard to develop are soaking up in this rice. And the smell as soon as you open this rice cooker is absolutely the best. In all honesty, I almost wanted to stop making the video just so I can keep eating this rice. The chicken has been poaching for about 20 minutes and it's almost ready to pull. This is where it's going to be a little strange for most people. The chicken will be placed in an ice bath that's been seasoned with salt. I've never really thought about it before, but it is true. I have done this before without seasoning the ice bath, and the chicken unfortunately ends up tasting under-seasoned. But why the ice bath? Well, it's going to stop the cooking, but more importantly, it's going to allow us to maintain a soft and flavorful skin. This should be a quick dunk so it stops cooking and sets the skin. The chicken should not be served cold. As much as I love crispy chicken skin, I would say this texture on the skin is as satisfying as crispy skin, but almost has a more luxurious feel. And this is the reason why the chicken was not smoked earlier, for this moment right here. The soft skin and that flavor-packed rice are the keys to what makes this dish so special. I don't think there's any other dish that shows the versatility of a chicken. It is literally in every component of the meal, and we use every single part of the chicken. I even took the rest of the chicken skin that we rendered, cut them up into smaller bits to add more texture. Ultimately, it's just a really fun dish to eat because you can create so many different bites. The chicken and rice is the base, but there's so much to explore with the condiments and toppings. The ginger scallion sauce adds a smooth and aromatic flavor, while the chili sauce brought brightness and spice to a pretty mild dish. And the fresh scallions and the crispy chicken skin pieces bring a lot of color and contrast, but also bring in so much needed freshness and texture to this dish. Hainanese chicken rice has a lot of steps, but it's really fun to put together. Some people may say that this isn't barbecue, but to each their own. One thing I can say for sure, for people who really like chicken, this is the ultimate chicken dish, and if you haven't made it before, you need to do so. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and here are 2 other chicken recipes that I absolutely love, so be sure to check those out as well. And if you guys like this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.